Good morning students. Today we will discuss the remaining part of 7th class history chapter New Kings and Kingdoms. In my previous videos we have discussed the major new kings and kingdoms and some parts of the administration in the kingdoms also. So in this part we will continue with the remaining part of the administration in the kingdoms and with Chola dynasty also. So in this part at first we will discuss about administration in the kingdoms, and in administration in the kingdoms we have discussed about general administration. We have also discussed about land grants and prashastis. So today we will discuss about the third part, that is warfare for wealth. After it we will discuss about Chola dynasty, and in this Chola dynasty at first we will discuss about rulers and expansion from Uriyur to Thanjavur. After it we will discuss about types of land also, and later on we will discuss about splendid temples and bronze sculpture, and at last we will discuss about administration of Cholas. At first we will start it from warfare for wealth. In this warfare of wealth at first we will see about tripartite struggle. After it we will discuss about invasion of Mahmud Ghazni, and later on we will discuss about warfare of Chauhans या Chahmans. Each of the ruling dynasties was based in a specific region at that time, and at the same time they tried to control other areas, like they wanted to control the areas of other rulers so that they could expand their territories, and so that they could control the resources of those areas also. And one such lucrative area was Kannaus in the Ganges valley, which led to the tripartite struggle for centuries. Like this was the area of Kannaus, and this was the bone of contempt for tripartite struggle. There was a constant rivalry between the Palas, the Gurjar Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas. This has been termed as the tripartite struggle, as three parties were involved in it. It is said that the main cause of this struggle was to desire to possess the city of Kannaus. Now the question arises, why all these three parties were willing to control the territory of Kannaus? Actually, there were two reasons behind it. The very first is they wanted to show their supremacy, or we can say Kannaus was a symbol of sovereignty, and the second was to control the fertile region of Gangetic Valley, as Kannaus was the area of Doab. Because we can find the water of two rivers in Kannaus. The one is Ganga and the other one is Yamuna. That's why this was one of the most fertile region, and because of its fertility all the three parties were willing to capture this so that they could improve their economy, so that they could improve their agricultural production. That's why all these parties, Palas, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas, all were willing to control this area. Now we will discuss the second point of this part, that is invasion of Mahmud Ghazni. One of the prime reason for the conflicts among different rulers was the control over the riches beyond their own territories, and this was possibly because the rulers needed huge wealth to enhance their military powers and somewhere to maintenance their army, their lavish life also. They tried to demonstrate their power and resources by building large capitals and large temples also. One of the best known of such rulers is Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, who belonged to Afghanistan. He ruled Afghanistan from 1997 to 1030 and he invaded India 17 times. During 1020 to 1027, he extended his control over the parts of Central Asia, Iran and northwestern part of subcontinent. Here the term subcontinent is used for India. We know that India has the characteristics of a continent, or we can say in India we can find all the diversities which should be in a continent. That's why it is considered as subcontinent. He raided the subcontinent almost every year, and in 1025 he plundered the famous temple of Somnath. At that time, King Bhima I was ruling over Gujarat. He was not able to stop the attack and the temple was looted. Much of the wealth Mahmud carried away was used to create a splendid city at Ghazni, which was made the capital of Mahmud Ghazni. He was also interested in finding out more about the people he conquered. So he entrusted a scholar named Al-Baruni to write an account of the subcontinent, and Al-Baruni wrote Kitab al-Hind. This was written in Arabic, and Kitab al-Hind was also an Arabic word. But at the time of writing this book, he consulted Sanskrit scholars to prepare his account. He consulted with local scholars so that he could easily know, he could be aware about the lifestyle of people who were residing in subcontinent at that time. So we can say invasion of Mahmud Ghazni. Ghazni ruled from 1997 to 1030, plundered India during 1000 to 1027 for 17 times, and his famous attack is the attack on Somnath temple, which is in Gujarat at present. Somnath temple is the temple of Lord Shiva, is devoted to deity Lord Shiva. And why did he attack on Somnath temple and why did he plunder India at 17 times? Of course, to make his capital Ghazni splendid. The wealth which was taken away by Mahmud Ghazni was spent to make Ghazni splendid and marvelous. And he brought a scholar who was Al-Baruni, and Al-Baruni wrote down Kitab al-Hind. That is also known as Tarikh-e-Hind. Now we will discuss the wars of Chahmans. Other kings who engaged in warfare included the Chahmans, later known as Chauhans, and they were ruling over Delhi and Ajmer. They attempted to expand their control to the west and east, where they were opposed by the Chalukyas of Gujarat and Kedwals of western UP. As I have told you in my previous videos, the best known Chahman ruler was Prithviraj Chauhan III, who defeated an Afghan ruler named Sultan Muhammad Ghori in 1191 but lost to him the very next year in 1192. And with the end of Prithviraj Chauhan III, it is considered that the Chahman dynasty was demolished because the successors of Prithviraj Chauhan was not so powerful. Wars of Chauhans with Chalukyas of Gujarat and Kehdwals of western UP. As I have told you, the last ruler of Kehdwal dynasty, Jaichand, was the enemy of Prithviraj Chauhan III, and somewhere it is considered that Muhammad Ghori was invited by Kehdwal ruler Jaichand Kehdwal also. So we can see at that time the wealth of temples and temple towns attracted foreign invaders, not only foreign invaders but local rulers also. because these temples became the storehouses of wealth through revenue collection and through donation received from rulers and wealthy devotees. That's why temples were often plundered and even destroyed during wars among the regional kingdoms. And somewhere it is considered that these temples were invaded by foreign invaders to make mosques, to make universities and to make other places, so that they could use the resource of Indian subcontinent, so that they could use the money of Indian subcontinent to make their own city beautiful, to make their own city splendid. Now we will see the Chola dynasty. At first we will discuss about rise and expansion from Uriyar to Thanjavur. Cholas were ruling in Tamil. That's why it is also considered as Tamil dynasty. And this is considered the longest ruling dynasties in the southern India. And Cholas was one of the major dynasty of Sangam dynasty. When we discuss Sangam dynasty, we can include three major dynasties in Sangam dynasty. The one is Cholas, who were ruling in Tamil Nadu. We can also include Pandyas. Pandyas were also ruling in Tamil Nadu. Like we can see Cholas. Cholas were ruling in the northern part of Tamil Nadu, whereas Pandyas were ruling in southern part of Tamil Nadu, and Cheras were ruling in Kerala. So all these three dynasties, Cheras, Cholas and Pandyas, can be termed as Sangam dynasties. Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. All these three dynasties were termed as Sangam dynasty, and the literature which was flourished, which was developed in Sangam dynasty was rich and prosperous. At first we will see the expansion and rise of Chola kingdom. Chola Mandala, the ancient Chola kingdom, was situated in the Kaveri Delta. Somewhere in this area, Chola Mandala was situated, and it was the ancient Chola kingdom. And it was situated in Kaveri Delta with Uriyar as its capital. This is ancient Chola kingdom, and the capital of this ancient Chola kingdom is Uriyar. But it declined under his successors because they were not so powerful. That's why in the 9th century, we can say in 848 AD, Vijayalaya, a Chola chieftain, ruled over a small territory lying north of the Kaveri. He conquered Thanjavur and made it his capital. He also extended Chola rule over the region around Thanjavur. His successors defeated the Pandyas of Madurai, the Pallavas of Kachi and the rulers of Sri Lanka. However, the Cholas suffered a setback in 949 AD when they were defeated by Rashtrakutas. And basically in Chola dynasty, we can find two major rulers. The one is Rajaraja I and the second one is Rajendra Chola I, who was the son of Rajaraja I. So Chola dynasty was established by Karikela, but it was flourished, or we can say it was re-established by Vijayalaya Chola. In which year? In 848 AD. And Vijayalaya first controlled Thanjavur and made it his capital. We can say Thanjavur was made the capital of Chola dynasty first time in the reign of Vijayalaya Chola. And the two major rulers of Chola dynasty were Rajaraja I and Rajendra I. Rajaraja I, the Cholas recovered their power under Rajaraja I, who established control over large parts of the Deccan with his powerful navy. Rajaraja I conquered northern Sri Lanka and established control over the Maldive island also. Like Rajaraja first conquered this area, controlled by Rajaraja first. Not only this area, we can say Maldives was also under the control of Chola dynasty in the reign of Rajaraja first. Rajaraja first had the famous Brihadeshwar temple. This is also termed as Rajrajeshwar temple, and it was built in Thanjavur. And the art of making bronze statues flourished under Rajaraja and his successor Rajendra I also. Rajaraja first ruled over Tamil Nadu in 1985 to 116. Rajaraja first was ruling over Tamil Nadu from 1985 to 116 AD, and he established his control over the large part of Deccan. Like in Deccan area, he controlled Maldives, he controlled northern part of Sri Lanka, and he made famous temple in Thanjavur, that is Brihadeshwar temple. Whereas the temple of Nishambha Shambhani was made by Vijayalaya in Thanjavur. Now we will see the second ruler, that is Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola first, and the time period of Rajendra Chola first was 116 to 144, as he was the son and successor of Rajaraja first. According to an inscription from Tirumalai, his army defeated the Pala rulers of Bengal and reached the river Ganga. After this, Rajendra Chola proclaimed him Gangai Konda. It means the conqueror of the Ganga. He also built a city of temples near Thanjavur and named it Gangai Kondai Cholapuram. The navy of Rajendra Chola first went to Southeast Asia and defeated the forces of the kingdoms of Sri Vijaya. This restored the Cholas' flourishing trade with Southeast Asia and southern China. Internal conflicts and frequent wars against neighboring kingdoms led to the fall of the Chola kingdom in the 13th century. We can say under the rule of Rajendra Chola first, Chola dynasty touched its zenith. Chola dynasty touched the pinnacle of success and the largest expansion. According to the inscription of Tirumalai, he defeated Pala rulers of Bengal and conquered Ganga region and took the title of Gangai Konda. It means the conqueror of Ganga, and he made the city that is termed as city of temples named Gangai Konda Cholapuram. So we can say under the control of Rajaraja first and Rajendra first, Chola dynasty was touching the pinnacles of success, or we can say the golden era of Chola dynasty was under the rule of Rajendra Chola and Rajaraja first also. So in our next video we will discuss about Chola's administration and bronze sculpture also.